May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be always acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Well, after a spring and summer of envisioning what God is calling St. Andrew's to do, and after devoting the month of September to reminding ourselves of all the various ministries we have to carry out that vision, we come to today. Today, a day that we usually call Rally Day, the kickoff of putting into action everything that we have been talking about. Now, I don't know whether you've noticed it or not, but if you look at the sign on that side of the room, it has different words than it usually has. It has the words of the vision that we have for this place, that over these months we believe we have discerned as God's will for St. Andrew's. A vision put very succinctly with these words: come grow with us. Come grow with us. Now, as we talk about growth, there are lots of different perspectives that we need to keep in mind. Certainly our hope is that we will grow in number. Grow in the number of people who are spiritually drawn to making St. Andrew's their home. This is one aspect of growth that is extremely important in maintaining our vitality as a worshiping community. Also, an additional aspect of growth is our need to grow financially. In 2011, St. Andrew's begins its 100th year as a congregation in the Diocese of Southern Ohio. For most of that time, we've been a mission of the diocese. That means we've received financial assistance just to keep our operating expenses paid. So as we move towards this 100-year marker, it's time for us to step up to the plate and become self-sustained. And yes, to do this, we will have to grow financially. But we're also talking about other ways of growth when we invite people to come grow with us. We're talking about less tangible areas of growth. The kind of growth that takes place in a person's heart and mind and soul. We're talking about growing our relationship to God, to self, to others, and to all creation when we invite ourselves and others to come grow. And one place that nurture for this kind of spiritual growth happens is always in the various opportunities for education that are offered for all ages. The issue, however, and it's not an issue just for us, but for every parish, is how to get across the importance of participating in such opportunities. See, it's easy to think that parish education programs are just the kinds of things we do for children or for youth. It's easy to forget that education is for adults also. Oh, if it's a training, if it's something like to be ordained a priest or to be a lay Eucharistic minister or a lay Eucharistic visitor taking sacrament to people or a worship assistant, we get that. We understand that that requires some preparation and some education for these special ministries in the church. But what we forget is that each one of us, every single one of us, has a special function in carrying out different aspects of God's work in the world. That is true whether we're carrying that out as parents, as spouses, as business people, as students, as teachers, as retired folk, or however we have chosen to spend the days of our lives. It's not a matter of a special ministry. It's a matter of how intentional we go about doing the things that we do. Each role we fill in this world is an opportunity to live well and to live constructively in our relationship to God, to self, to others, and to all creation. But living well and constructively does not happen by accident. Making choices about what it means to live well and constructively in relationship to God, self, others, and creation requires intention on our part. And being intentional about the choices we make works best when our choices are educated responses rather than random reactions. Oh, we know this. We know this in all sorts of aspects of our lives. We know if we're going to choose a car, it's a good idea to find out a little more about it than whether we just like the color or not. We know that when we pick a career, it's a good idea to understand something about what's involved in the day-to-day work of living out that career. And we know how important it is to understand something about our own skills and talents and capabilities and likes and dislikes. When we buy a house, we typically learn the importance of checking things like the foundation, the plumbing, the electrical wiring. It only takes one house where we forgot to do so to remind us how important that is. But for some reason, many of us figure that whatever we learned along the way as a child in Sunday school, or maybe picked up in youth group, or maybe just heard from some other person talk about religion, many of us think that this limited experience is enough when it comes to choosing how we do or do not relate to God, to self, to others, and to all creation. But you know, it is not enough. Choosing well and constructively as adults involves more. As long as we are alive, it does not matter how old we are. It does not matter whether we have retired after a long career. As long as we are alive, there are life lessons to be learned. And these lessons are learned best when the spiritual dimensions of them are considered rather than ignored. So this is why we invite you and others to come grow with us. We want to pay attention to ways that we as a church can help people of all ages grow what they know. That is to say that part of our living out of this vision is to provide a wide range of learning opportunities appropriate to different age levels, but including a very strong focus on adult education. It's been said that adults and those approaching adulthood learn in this way: by doing, looking at what they've done, changing where they need to change, and then growing through that change. Do, look, change, and grow are the words that usually tag that process.